They don't get bigger or better than John Winston Howard as Prime Minister for Australia. And I'm pleased to say he's joining us again during the election campaign for his take on the day's news, which, of course, today is all about interest rates. And Mr Howard joins us now from Sydney. Mr Howard, g'day.
Hello there, Paul. Good to be with you again.
All right, elephant in the room, interest rates. What's your read on what the economic impacts and the election impacts are?
Well, my read is that interest rates at the moment are the lowest in the living memory of anybody. There's not a person alive in Australia now who's enjoyed lower interest rates. So we've got to have a sense of perspective. They're incredibly low compared with when I don't know when you bought your first home, but I'll bet interest rates were probably 7, 8, 9, 10% at least, perhaps even more. The cash rate has now gone to, 0.35%. Now, they're very low at present, partly because of the emergency levels they had to be brought down to due to the pandemic. Now, obviously, they can't remain at that level indefinitely. And apart from anything else, people who deposit their money with a bank expect some kind of return. So what happened today was entirely predictable. It doesn't represent any failure of economic management. I mean, if the Labor Party's running around saying, oh, terrible, 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 well, it wasn't terrible having a 0.1% interest rate yesterday, but now it's terrible, terrible, because it's gone from a record low to an almost record low. So let's have a sense of proportion.
Unsurprisingly, some of the media is trying to pretend it's Armageddon and it's all part of their pro-Albo agenda. But what do you think about the reality of what happened today?
Well, of course, if you are a saver, you don't mind interest rates going up a little bit. If you're a borrower, of course you mind, but let's keep a sense of balance and proportion. It was inevitable that some upward movement would occur because they've been at these emergency low levels. Now, that has happened. It was entirely predictable, and we have to keep a sense of proportion, and dismisses arrant electioneering any claim by the Labor Party that this represents a failure of economic management by the government.
And let's talk about H.Y. Albo for a second. It is extraordinary that you have a bloke standing to be Prime Minister who promises not just to spend every dollar the current government is, but on top of it, $70 billion more and counting over the next 4 years. That means he will drive up inflation. He does not have a solution for interest rates either.
Well, he obviously has some kind of magic solution that has eluded any leader of the government in the past, and which he's stubbornly refusing to tell the Australian people what it is. The truth is we have a big debt at the moment, a big government debt, and that is because we had to pump a lot of money into the economy following the government effectively closing the economy down with the full support of the Labor Party, incidentally, in order to counter the pandemic. Now, plainly having done that, the government had an obligation to pump money back into the economy to get it back on its feet. And as the Reserve Bank Governor noted in his statement today, Australia is coming out of the economic downturn remarkably well and better than most comparable countries. So the Labor Party can't have it both ways, or three ways. They can't support pumping all this extra money into the economy, acknowledge that we have to do something about the pandemic, and then turn around and squeal and yell economic mismanagement just when you see the eventual return, the beginning of a return of interest rates to more normal levels. It defies any kind of logic to have those sort of positions.